Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a statement that has changed my life. Formal. Education can make you a living, but self-education can make you a fortune. Let that sink in. Think about it. Our school systems are designed to prepare us for the marketplace, but only at a basic level. They teach you how to read and write, yes. They show you how to calculate and follow directions, yes. But rarely do they teach you how to create wealth, how to multiply money, or how to control your own financial destiny. Schools often train you to fit into a system, to work for wages, to follow a clock, and to meet expectations set by someone else. Education, on the other hand, is entirely different. It is what you teach yourself after the classroom doors close. It's the knowledge you seek out in books, in mentors, in seminars, and in your own experiences. Wealth is not handed out in diplomas. It is written into the habits of those who hunger to know more. It is learned by those who make the decision to keep learning long after school is done. That's the great difference. Schools can prepare you to survive, but self-education prepares you to thrive. I was 25 years old, broke, discouraged, and with excuses stacked so high I could hardly see over them. I had convinced myself that the world was against me. My parents weren't rich. I didn't have special connections, and every setback felt like proof that maybe success was for other people, not for me. I could have stayed there, circling in self-pity, but something remarkable happened. My mentor, Mr. Schoff, looked me in the eye and said words that pierced me. Jim, if you want things to change, you have to change. If you want your life to get better, you must get better. In that moment, it hit me like a thunderbolt. The government wasn't holding me back. My employer wasn't holding me back. Luck wasn't holding me back. The real obstacle was me. I realized that my income would never exceed my personal development. If I wanted a brighter tomorrow, I had to sharpen the man I was today. That was the moment I began the most important journey of my life, the journey of self-education. Now, let's be completely honest here. Becoming self-educated is not about hiding yourself in some dusty library for hours on end, memorizing useless facts that you'll never use in the real world. It's not about becoming a trivia champion or an academic scholar with shelves full of unread books. No, self-education is something far more powerful. It is the deliberate, intentional study of the principles that govern success and achievement. It's about picking up a book and asking yourself, how can I use this to change my results? It's about attending a seminar and listening not just with your ears, but with your life. Wealth, my friends, is not a riddle reserved for the lucky few. It is a formula. And that formula has been written down in books for centuries. It has been spoken in lectures by people who have achieved it. And it has been demonstrated in the very lives of men and women who started with nothing and ended with everything. The question is never, does the formula exist? The question is, will you humble yourself enough to learn it? Here's the truth that turned my life upside down. The marketplace does not reward need, it rewards value. And value is created through learning. You can need money desperately, you can pray for it, hope for it, even cry for it. But if you have not increased your value, the marketplace will pass you by. So the question became, how do I increase my value? The answer was crystal clear. Through self-education, by sharpening my mind, by expanding my knowledge, by practicing new skills, and by elevating the way I think. Every single dollar I ever earned, every single promotion I ever received was nothing more than the marketplace saying, Jim, you've become more valuable. And when that light came on in my head, I stopped blaming the world for my condition and started working on me. That's when wealth stopped being some distant dream and started becoming a very real possibility. The journey to wealth and freedom always begins with one bold decision, the decision to take full responsibility for your life. And I mean complete responsibility. Stop saying, I didn't get the right education, or I didn't grow up in the right neighborhood, or I didn't have the right parents. Those may be the facts of your past, but they are not the determinants of your future. Success doesn't ask about your background, it only asks, What seed are you planting today? Think of life as soil. It doesn't care if you're rich or poor, young or old, educated or uneducated. It only responds to the seed you place into it and the care you give that seed. Self-education is that seed. And if you water it with discipline, nurture it with persistence, and protect it with focus, the harvest it produces will absolutely astonish you. Wealth is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of planting and tending to the right seed. Now let me give you something very practical, because I know what many of you might be thinking, Jim, this sounds great, but where do I start? That's the number one question people have asked me over the years. There are thousands of books in every bookstore, countless seminars, and more voices offering advice than you can ever listen to. So where do you begin? My answer has always been the same. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't feel that you need to devour an entire library in 1 week. Just begin. Begin with 1 or 2 powerful books that can spark the flame of learning inside of you. Think of these books not as mere collections of pages and ink, but as tickets into the world of wealth and wisdom. One great book studied with care can change the entire direction of your life. So don't worry about reading everything. Worry about finding the right things to read first. The first book I always recommend to anyone serious about building wealth and success is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Don't let the title deceive you. This book is not simply about stacking dollars in the bank. It is about reshaping the very mindset you carry into every area of your life. Napoleon Hill spent over 20 years interviewing some of the wealthiest, most accomplished men of his time: Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Andrew Carnegie, and many others, and he distilled their principles into a set of timeless lessons. This is not just theory, this is wisdom tested by giants of industry and leaders of society. If you take this book seriously, if you study it line by line and apply it with sincerity, it will begin to rewire your entire thinking process. It will challenge the way you see yourself, your opportunities, and your future. It is more than a book, it is a manual for creating wealth from the inside out. One of the most powerful lessons from Think and Grow Rich is this: wealth begins in the mind long before it ever shows up in your bank account. Your thoughts shape your reality. Hill talks about desire, faith, imagination, and persistence as the invisible assets that eventually create visible results. Think of desire as the spark, faith as the fuel, imagination as the blueprint, and persistence as the engine. These forces, when combined, create an unstoppable momentum toward your goals. Another key lesson is the concept of definiteness of purpose, the idea that you must have a clear and compelling goal for your life. Without purpose, you are like a ship drifting in the sea without a rudder. With purpose, every wave pushes you closer to your destination. That's what this book does. It gives you the tools to create a definite purpose and the mindset to pursue it relentlessly. When I first read Hill's masterpiece, it shook me to the core. I remember putting the book down and asking myself questions I had never dared to ask. Jim, what is your definite purpose? What are you really chasing? Are you simply trading hours for wages, or are you building a life of meaning and abundance? For the first time, I realized that I'd been living on autopilot, working hard but without direction. That book forced me to stop and think deeply about my true goals, and once I defined them, everything changed. I stopped being content with a paycheck and started focusing on building a fortune. I stopped thinking small and began imagining big. And that shift from just earning to actually building was the single most important turning point of my financial life. But let me give you a warning here. Reading alone will not change your life. You can stack your shelves with every great book ever written, but if all they do is gather dust, your life will remain exactly the same. Knowledge without action is like a seed left in the package. It has the potential to grow into something incredible, but it never will unless you plant it and nurture it. So as you read Napoleon Hill, Don't just underline the words or nod your head in agreement. Take notes. Write down the ideas that strike you. Translate them into commitments. Create action steps. Most importantly, put them into practice immediately. Don't just read, think, and grow rich. Live it, breathe it, apply it daily, because only then will the book move from being words on a page to becoming results in your life. Now, let's move on to the second book, and this one might surprise you. The next book I urge you to read is The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. Unlike Hill's book, which dives deep into psychology and mindset, this one is written in simple parables set in the ancient city of Babylon. Don't let its simplicity fool you. Within its stories lie some of the most timeless laws of money ever written. This little book has guided millions toward financial wisdom. It teaches in plain language how to earn, how to keep, and how to multiply wealth. It reveals that financial success is not about complex formulas or modern inventions. It is about universal principles that have worked for thousands of years and will work for you too. When I first encountered this book, I was astonished by how practical it was. It gave me the kind of financial education that school had never even attempted to teach. One of the core lessons from The Richest Man in Babylon is this: a part of all you earn is yours to keep. At first, it sounds too simple. You might think, of course, I keep what I earn. But the truth is, most people don't. They spend everything that comes in, and often even more. The car payments, the rent, the dinners out, the new gadgets, the endless or little luxuries, they eat away every dollar before the month ends. And when an emergency hits, they wonder why they are always broke. This single principle changed my entire outlook. Before anything else, before the rent, before the utilities, before the luxuries, I learned to pay myself first. That means I set aside at least 10% of everything I earned and made it untouchable, sacred. And let me tell you, the discipline of saving transforms your life, not just financially, but mentally. It gives you a sense of control, of dignity, of building towards something bigger than just surviving. That is the foundation of wealth. Another timeless principle Clason shares is, make your gold multiply. This means don't just save money, put it to work. Money that sits idle in a jar or a drawer has no power. But money that is invested wisely begins to grow. Think of it as planting seeds. One seed produces many crops, and within each crop are more seeds. That is the miracle of multiplication. When I first absorbed this lesson, I realized that my role was not to be a consumer who only spends, but to become an investor who grows. Instead of buying things that lost value, I began channeling money into assets that produced more money. Investments, business ventures, and opportunities that created returns. And here's the beauty. You don't need millions to start. Even a small portion of your savings can be put to work. Over time, those little streams become rivers. Wealth, you see, is not about how much you earn. It's about how well you manage and grow what you earn. Now, you may wonder, why do you recommend these two books together? The answer is simple, because they complement each other perfectly. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich works on the inside. It transforms your mindset, your psychology, your belief system. It teaches you to dream big, to set a definite purpose, to ignite the invisible forces of desire, faith, and persistence. But Clason's The Richest Man in Babylon works on the outside. It gives you the mechanics, the nuts and bolts of handling money. One teaches you how to think rich. The other teaches you how to live rich. One will give you the fire in your spirit. The other will give you the tools in your hands. Together, they form a complete foundation for wealth building. If you study them seriously, not casually, they will become a compass, guiding you toward financial independence and personal greatness. That is why I never recommend one without the other. And let me tell you something very personal. Once I got serious about self-education, my life began to change so quickly it almost frightened me. Within just a few years, I went from being a broke farm boy in Idaho, working long hours for little pay, living with frustration and excuses, to becoming a millionaire. Imagine that transformation. What changed? Not the economy, not the government, not my family circumstances. What changed was me. I became a student of wealth, a student of success, and eventually a practitioner of the principles I had studied. My self-education elevated me into a different league of results. And here's the amazing truth. The principles I used are the same ones available to anyone willing to learn. That means you too can create the same transformation. The door of wealth does not have a lock. It has a handle, and self-education is the key that turns it. But remember, self-education is not just about money. It's about freedom. When you educate yourself, you no longer wait for someone else to open doors for you. You no longer depend on the system to hand you opportunities. You build your own doors. You carve your own opportunities. You shape your own destiny. That is true power. Self-education frees you from the limits of your past and empowers you to design your future. It gives you the ability to say, I don't have to accept life as it is. I can make life as I want it to be. That's what wealth is really about, my friends. Not just dollars and cents, but choices and independence. It's the freedom to live where you want, to give how you want, to spend your days how you want. And the path to that freedom is paved not with luck or inheritance, but with learning. Now let me clarify something. Self-education does not mean isolation. You don't have to figure out everything by yourself. In fact, the fastest way to grow is to learn from others. Read biographies of great leaders. Listen to lectures from experts. Attend seminars where wisdom is shared, and surround yourself with people who know more than you do. Remember this principle. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you spend your days around complainers, guess what? You'll end up complaining. If you surround yourself with achievers, dreamers, and learners, their energy will pull you upward. Choose wisely. Make it your mission to constantly associate with people who stretch your thinking, who challenge your limits, who inspire you to keep learning. Self-education is not a solo journey. It is a collective climb supported by the wisdom of those who walk the path before you. Another powerful insight. Don't just read books about money. Money alone will not make you truly wealthy. Read about philosophy to shape your thinking. Read about character to strengthen your integrity. Read about leadership to learn how to influence and inspire others. Wealth, after all, is not just about cash. It is about wisdom, influence, and impact. The more well-rounded your education, the greater the value you bring to the marketplace. A man who only knows money may make a living, but a man who knows life makes a fortune. When you broaden your self-education to include history, philosophy, spirituality, relationships, and human behavior, you are no longer just preparing yourself for a paycheck. You are preparing yourself for a legacy. That is the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Rich is about money. Wealth is about wisdom, and wisdom comes from a wide education. Now let's talk about a bridge called discipline. Discipline is what connects self-education to real success. You see, it is easy to read a book once, underline a few lines, and then put it back on the shelf to collect dust. That's not discipline, that's dabbling. Discipline means studying a book deeply, revisiting it again and again, extracting every lesson you can. Discipline means highlighting, taking notes, and more importantly, putting those lessons into practice. Discipline means saving 10% of your income every month, even when it hurts. Discipline means applying one new idea consistently until it bears fruit. Small disciplines practiced daily may not look impressive at first, but over time, they compound into extraordinary results. Just as interest multiplies money, discipline multiplies success. If you commit to a little discipline every day, 30 minutes of reading, a few dollars, saved, one idea applied, your life will begin to expand in ways you cannot imagine. So here's my challenge to you. Commit to becoming self-educated starting today. Don't wait for the perfect time because it doesn't exist. Don't wait until the bills are lighter, until you feel ready, or until someone gives you permission. Start now. Success does not come to the most talented or the most privileged. It comes to the most prepared. And preparation begins with learning. Self-education is the daily sharpening of your mind, the daily stretching. Vision, the daily investment in your personal growth. Think of it like exercise. You don't get strong from one day in the gym, you get strong from showing up every day. The same is true for the mind. Make self-education a habit, not a hobby. Make it the backbone of your future. Because once you begin, you'll discover that knowledge is not just power, it is profit. So here is your starting point. Pick up Think and Grow Rich. Pick up the richest men in Babylon, or don't just skim through them, study them, digest them, live them. Let them challenge you. Let them change you. Write down the lessons. Create action plans. Apply the principles in your daily life. Then let these 2 books spark a hunger for more. Once you finish them, don't stop. Read another book. Attend another seminar. Or listen to another mentor. Have another conversation with someone wiser than you. Make self-education not just an occasional burst of inspiration, but a lifelong lifestyle. Let every day become an opportunity to add another layer of wisdom, another tool to your toolbox, another brick to the foundation of your fortune. That's how great lives are built. One book, one lesson, one discipline at a time. And let me close with this reminder, my friends. Your bank account is not the true measure of your potential. It is simply a reflection of the knowledge you've gathered and applied so far. If you don't like the numbers you see, don't curse the economy. Change your input. The day you commit to self-education is the day your wealth journey truly begins. Don't just wish for wealth. Don't just pray for success. Become a student of it. Study it, practice it, live it. Because success, like a garden, doesn't grow by accident. It grows when cultivated with care. And if you stay on this path, if you make self-education a way of life, I promise you, your results will astonish you. Your family will be blessed, your influence will grow, and your life will never be the same again. The fortune you are looking for is not out there somewhere, it is waiting inside. The books, the lessons, and the disciplines you are willing to embrace today.